Grid is an investor network we're building. There's about 250 local grid stations throughout the country. And the idea is same thing we're trying to do here, is find deals, right? Get people to invest together who are investors all over the country. You know, with Facebook page. I am now the Grid DELCO chapter, essentially. There's a Grid Philly, there's a Grid Montco. A past client of mine who's now an agent in Washington, D.C. runs Grid DC, and that's how I found out about it. I think it's great. It's something I've been looking for. Very smaller, more local version of Bigger Pockets, essentially. You know, like Bigger Pockets is a large worldwide forum. This just more localizes it. So as it says, it's an investor community built for investors, by investors, not gurus. Nobody's here to sell anything except real estate to each other, you know, but like I'm not bringing in lenders to sell their products or, you know, people to sell a course. We're trying to find deals together, you know? So that's the idea behind Grid. So the idea is to connect, learn, and collaborate with like-minded people interested in building wealth through real estate, which is something I've always been interested in since I got into real estate. You're interested in. Everyone that joins my team, they have to sign a document saying they're going to invest in real estate. And Evan, obviously, that's a big part of your life as well. The one thing I do encourage is investors of all levels. So Neil, first time we spoke, you didn't have very many properties. Now you're a seasoned investor. Tim, you're trying to get there. I'd like investors that have done hundreds of deals. I'd like investors that have done no deals, just to learn how to get into it and do it right without making some of the mistakes I've made and most investors make. So just continuing to learn. So there's over 1,000. Oh, got another person. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Yeah. Hey. Hey. So, you know, the vision is to continue to build, but my vision for Grid is everyone that comes to these finds a deal, right? Or is able to share a deal with each other. I'm sure if you're looking, it's very hard to find good deals on the MLS anymore. Prior to COVID, wasn't that hard. You know, there was a lot of deals. When I first got into real estate, I worked with a few guys that were flipping, and it was easy for me to find them a deal to flip. Like, oh, find this deal, we'll buy it, we'll flip it. That was nothing. It was every other listing was a good deal, and properties would sit for 30 to 60 days, and you can negotiate. In the last 3 years, you're bidding against homeowners on investment properties, and there's no meat on the bone. So the best deals I've found in the last 3 or 4 years have been off market, and I think through communities like this, we could share in that. So my name is William Holder. I run the Grid DELCO. Evan is going to be our presenter tonight. He is a local wholesaler, flipper, very experienced real estate owner. He's going to speak to us about deal finding this evening. And together, again, we just want to connect and get deals together. So I am currently an investor. I do about 2 flips a year on average, and I own about 23 properties, close to 50 doors, locking up an 11 unit right now, right outside of Pittsburgh. So slowly growing my investment portfolio, but what I want to do is kind of scale up, get more flips, help people get involved in flips, find the right people to do deals with, and eventually grow the size of deals I'm doing with a community that's a part of that. You know, the types of properties we're interested is everything. So, you know, I'm sure you'll say we'd like flips locally. I'm interested in doing bigger buildings around Pennsylvania. I personally am not really into commercial units just yet, like gas stations, things like that, but maybe someday. For now, it's mostly residential rentals, apartment buildings, and flips, single families. Important stuff. You don't have to read all this. It just says I'm not liable for anything. So, you know, don't blame me. I'm not a lawyer. Talk to a lawyer if you want some advice. I'm just here to tell you what you see is what you get, and none of it's this. also just states that anything we use today can be, or anything we film today or record today can be used in our marketing. So if you hear your voice on the internet somewhere, I'm sorry, but you allowed it. And now we're going to get into our presentation.
My name's Evan, and Evan Zaremba. I live in Delaware County. I started real estate about 2007 after reading all the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books. You probably have all read those books so far. I had a partner back then. We started buying a bunch of junk properties in the worst areas and the worst condition. And we ended up going belly up. And after a couple of years, by 2010, I was almost $1 million in bad debt. And it kind of knocked me out of the game for a while. So I made a lot of mistakes back then. For about 6 years, I did not do any real estate. I knew that I wanted to get back into the game. So about 2016, I found somebody who was doing wholesaling, and I teamed up with them, and he was basically a mentor, and they had a good system. And I was in sales for a long time. So wholesaling kind of came naturally to them or to me. And since then, I've done well over 100 deals, which doesn't really sound that much. It's, really a couple deals every single month. You don't have to, if you're wholesaling and you do a couple deals a month, that's pretty good, right? I know some of these companies out there, they're doing, they say do 10 deals a month or 20 deals a month, and they have this team and that stuff. But they got a lot of overhead, and they're hiring and firing a lot of people. If you do a wholesale deal and you make 25 grand, and then one deal, that's pretty good. That's more than what most people are making nowadays. So not that every deal is always like that lucrative, but that's just an example. So tonight I'm going to just talk about what I've been doing, what I do to find motivated sellers, and how what has worked for me. So we can just kind of get into it right now. Currently, I have just to let you know, I have 11 units. It's not that many. I've only started really building a rental portfolio in the last couple of years. I've transitioned out of wholesaling, so I still do wholesaling, but I've transitioned out of that to more buy and hold. I do creative financing, meaning I've bought properties subject to the mortgage. I've done negotiated seller financing. I raise private money. I have private money on lots of deals. So I've been able to pivot and learn different skills in this market. So now I can now I have a lot more to bring to the table when I'm looking at a deal. So that's one of the other things that I can show you guys how to do. So
why did you stop really focusing on the wholesaling and go into flips and rentals?
Wholesaling is like you have to continuously look and look and look, and the type of clientele that you're dealing with can often be a lot of drama, right? There's a lot of they're in a bad situation. There's a lot of title problems, and there's just like a lot of ups and downs in wholesaling, and you're doing it at the end of the day. Sometimes you're making $5 grand. Sometimes I've done wholesale deals where I've made like $1,000, and I've done wholesale deals where it's been an $80,000 assignment fee, right? To consistently do that month after month after month is very taxing. And it's also in this market, especially, anybody can be a wholesaler. The barrier to entry to be a wholesaler is less than what it is to be a realtor. And the only reason is because you don't have to take any test. Anybody can be a wholesaler. Anybody can get lucky. Anybody can get a property under contract. You could just go on, post on social media, hey, I'm a cash buyer. You link up with somebody, you get lucky the first time, you make 20 grand, but that's the last time you're probably going to do a deal, right? Most people, to do that consistently long term is very difficult, even for myself, right? So if I can find a property where like I need to be able to do multiple things. So that's just how I'm gonna, like, you're not gonna build wealth being a wholesaler. You can make a couple $100 grand a year doing that. You're going to pay a lot of money in taxes, right? But I don't have any tax benefits. I don't have any write-offs. So like if I own rental properties, I have tax benefits. I have tax write-offs. I have appreciation. I have depreciation. I have positive cash flow from something like that. I can refinance a property through the Burr method and make money tax-free. If I flip a property, I can make 40 grand on that property. And if I could do, one a month or every other month or something like that, I can do more with just doing one deal. And it's less of a headache, at least for me at this point, than it is doing 3 or 4 wholesale deals and focusing on trying to do that every single month. So that's why I transitioned out of it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, so cool. So tonight I'm going to talk about how to negotiate a deal, how to identify and qualify motivated sellers. So the first thing, so I just press, there we go. The first thing I want to talk about is motivated versus distressed. So I don't really like necessarily a motivated seller, because to me, a motivated person is somebody that they want to do it, but typically they're good for a good fit for more so a realtor. So they're maybe like, I'll call them like a regular person. They're in a regular situation. They want to move. They want to list their house. Maybe they want to move out of state, upsize, downsize, anything like that. But the one thing that they have is usually time and money, or some combination of that, meaning that if they sell their house, or if they move, if they have to move, they can either hold the mortgage on their house, or they don't have a mortgage, or their house is in pretty good shape. It's not that big of a deal. I want, if you're looking to make money flipping properties, wholesaling properties, things like that, and you're not dealing with just being a realtor, you want to look for a distressed seller, right? So a distressed seller is somebody who needs to sell their property yesterday, right? So a distressed seller, usually their house is in bad shape. They might have health issues. They can't afford the repairs. They don't want to afford the repairs. And the difference between them and, like, let's say a motivated person, is that they don't have time or they don't have money to do this. And that's why I say they want to sell that house yesterday. So why do you want a distressed seller? Really, they want to get rid of the property, right? That's the bottom line at the end of the day. They want to get rid of the property. Like I said, it's usually in bad shape, but there's a potential for value add in the property, meaning that you can fix the property up and sell it for a profit. The other thing is that they're typically in some kind of uncomfortable situation where they want to sell the property quickly. So that could be, maybe they they inherited the property, right? So a lot of times if somebody inherits the property, it was their parents' house. They don't necessarily want to live there. I just got a property under contract the other day. The woman inherited the property. It was her father's property. She doesn't want the property. She doesn't want to renovate the property. She doesn't want to rent out the property. She just wants to be done with it, right? So it's just an uncomfortable situation from her emotionally. So she just wants to get rid of it. The other thing is, you can actually help solve their problem. So this is not like some kind of like predatory thing where we're going after, like, the bottom feeders or whatever. I'm not, not to make any like disparaging comments, but like, you can actually help them in there are people out there, and they're, in terms of sellers, they're not the majority of sellers. You're talking about a very small percentage, but if you find those people, they're oftentimes not very comfortable with selling it the traditional means. They don't want people walking through the house. The house could be in shambles. There could be all kinds of issues with that. They don't want to sell it the traditional route through a realtor. So you can actually solve their problem, and you can make a lot of money doing it. So where do you find these distressed sellers, right? They're out there, right? So if you go to a website called alltheleads.com, you can find whatever county you're in. You can contact them, and you can order all of the probate leads. Basically, anyone who passes away, there's a public record or public announcement of it, and that they have all of that information, and they compile it for you in a list, and it has the decedent's name. It has who their administrator or executor of the estate is. It has a lot of times they'll give you their contact information, their phone number. It has their email address. It has the attorney who's involved in this. So they give you all this information for like a couple $100. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are doing that, right? So it's not necessarily easy. This is not an easy thing to do, because there's a lot of competition out there for it, but that is one source of doing that. Another thing is tax delinquent list. So anybody who owns a house has to pay property taxes. If you fall behind on your property taxes for usually in Delaware County, it's 3 years or more, that's going to go to a tax sale. So if it goes to a tax sale, it literally, the house is supposed to be free and clear of mortgages at that point. And the county is supposed to know that. And then it goes to a tax sale. If it goes to a tax sale, then it'll be like an auction, like where there's a bunch of people in the room and they just bid on the house. And then you can buy that house for pretty cheap. But before it goes to that tax sale, you can contact that person and say, hey, do you want to sell your property? I'd like to buy it from you, right? Another thing are code violations and municipality. I'm sorry, just code violations, right? So somebody's got high grass, right? Their grass is 2 feet high and they haven't cut it in a while. Maybe their sidewalk is all messed up, or there's like junk on the yard, right? What are those people? What kind of situation are those people in? They probably don't have money, right? So they don't have money. And if they come to a point where they are they have high grass and they didn't pay their property taxes for the last couple of years, then they don't have money and they don't have time, right? So they are distressed. Foreclosure. The thing about foreclosure is I have not had a lot of success in all my years of real estate of dealing with distressed people in foreclosure situations. And the reason being is because oftentimes people are in denial. They'll wait too long to sell their property. And by that time, it's going to go to the sheriff's sale and it's too late to deal with it. Sometimes there's equity in it. Sometimes there's not. It's a thing. There's certain people that can specialize in foreclosures. I just have not had that much success. I get a lot of my leads, and I've made a lot of money doing probate, tax delinquent, code violations. The other thing is high equity. So anybody who's got equity in their property, they own the property free and clear, it's got 100% equity, right? If they owe $50,000 on it and it's worth $100,000 on it, it's got 50% equity. So you can literally look up these lists on a website like PropStream, or there's another one I forget. There's lots of other like resources out there. What's that?
Yeah, batch leads.
Yeah, batch leads. Yeah, you can look up, and you can look up. You can literally pick the demographics. So you can pick like, I want somebody who's 55 and older, who's been living in their property for 10 years or longer, who has 50% of equity or more. And you can pull that list in an entire county. You can do it per zip code, per county, or whatever you want to do it in. Once you get like past the county, you're talking about tens of thousands. You probably don't even need to do that much. So
You might ask.
yeah.
So with code violations.
Yeah.
One is, do any of the local municipalities post online? I haven't found one that does.
I believe so. Philadelphia does. That's where Philly, you could just go right on, like it's like
Any
Philly
place
could.
that I want to buy, I haven't.
Right. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So you can contact the local municipality, right? And you can, and they should give you that information. Now, there's something called the Freedom of Information Act, and they have to give you that information. You can say, you can request it there.
You have to kind of request it.
You have to request
for a
it.
reason, right? Like
No, well, you could just say, hey, per the Freedom of Information
Okay.
Act, I am requesting any code violations in this zip code for this year, right? And you have to give them your name and your address and, whatever. So with Delaware County, typically the tax delinquent ones, you don't go to the tax department. You contact the IT department. You go to the courthouse and you contact the IT department, right? Because they're the ones with all the data. It's not the tax people. The tax people are the ones who are collecting so you got to contact the
Do you
the IT
do
department.
you make sure you stack them? So that
You
way
can,
they'll
you can,
really
yeah.
feel
So you
stressed, like
you
code
can, but
violations,
I don't.
a
I
lot
just
of times
yeah.
code violations, they're like crazy, right?
No, right.
But I guess it depends on the violation.
Mhm.
Like if part of their house was falling down, or
Yes.
if it's high grass. you know?
Yes. Yep.
With high grass, I would imagine I would want that stacked with something else.
Mhm.
Ideally.
It can be, but if you just send them whatever your marketing is,
Yeah.
if you just send it to them and they respond or they don't, then you just take
Yeah.
it from there. Yeah.
Also
So-
convinced like the foreclosures don't work because I've had this happen a few times where this is a very similar situation. The seller is gonna be foreclosed on.
Mhm.
And the bank sends the loan to one, a collection company,
Mhm.
and two, an attorney.
Mhm.
And I feel like the attorney is against the collection company.
Mhm.
Because if the collection company collects, the attorney didn't do anything. And I've seen where the attorney like holds the whole thing up, because they almost don't want it to be collected.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
You know?
Everybody.
Right.
I read a book one time, and it was basically one of the the principles on it. It was called The Creature from Jekyll Island. I don't know if anybody ever heard of it, but it's like about, yeah, it's about like the Fed and how bad and evil they are. But everybody does things for personal incentives, right? So if you got the attorney's hand in the cookie jar and the collection's hand in the cookie jar, they're fighting for as many cookies as they want. And now you're coming in and you want your hand in the cookie jar, right? So it's whoever has the strongest grip at that point, you know, or who can break the cookie jar. So how do you contact these people, right? So it's basically marketing. Marketing is just getting attention, right? So you're driving down the street, you see billboards, you're listening to advertisements, anything like that. Anything that you do to contact them, and it works, do it, right? So these are just different types of marketing. Sending out direct mail, cold texting, cold calling, internet targeting, which is just, you know, Facebook, Google ads, billboards, TV, radio ads, knocking on doors, and social media. It doesn't matter. They all work, right? They all work. Some work better than others. Some people are better at them. They have better systems. But if you pick one or two and you get good at it, then you should get this is like the secret sauce right here, right? If you're really good at sales, has anybody worked in an organization before where they had like, there was like the sales guy who was like the cocky guy. He sold the most in the company, right? And like he could kind of do whatever he wanted. If he wanted to leave early on Friday, he could, but he's still making like 150 or 200 grand a year just because he's really good at sales, right? But the second you take away that guy's leads, he can't sell anything because he doesn't have a marketing machine. So that's where the marketing machine is so important. You have to have a marketing machine. I currently do text messaging and cold calling and social media. Now, what is social media? He reached out to me on social media because he sees me post about real estate stuff all the time, right? We never met before. He said, hey, you want to do a presentation on how to find deals? I said, sure, right? So like, and this is how we can all network and do deals, right? So like, I've gotten tons of deals on social media, right? I've gotten, and just from people that I do know, some people that I don't know, but get on, if you're not doing social media now, post on social media. And you don't have to post, and I'm not talking about post like dog pictures and stuff like that. Like you can do that, but post content every once in a while. You don't have to do it all the time. You do like a kind of like a mix and match, mix mash, or whatever the term is, of content, funny stuff, and then people will know you as like, hey, I have people reach out to me all the time. Hey, are you interested in this zip code? Are you interested in this house? You're interested, like all the time. So like, if you become that person on social media, then you'll get more deals to you, and it's free, right? It's just a matter of putting in the time and effort to doing something like that. So all of these things, right? They can cost anywhere from like literally nothing, like it's just your time and effort into doing it, to it can cost you, you know, tens of thousands of dollars every single month to do something like this. These can cost thousands of dollars a month. It can cost, and then it can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Ultimately, whoever pays the most for marketing is going to make the most money. But if you're just like a single investor, focus on doing this stuff. And then if you can, and you have a marketing budget, pick one of these other ones that are, you know, in like mailers, SMS, text, cold, or whatever you can do, and then ramp it up to the next level. So that's how you find them. So what do you do when you meet these people, right? So whatever marketing method you used, whether it's direct mail, whether it's you know, cold calling, SMS, whatever, however the lead, they're reaching out to you typically at some point, right? That's the way you want to do it. They reach out to you. You want to build rapport with people. People do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So if they know you, and they don't have to like know you like for like 5 years, they just, if you have a 5 to 20 minute conversation with people, most people will, and it goes well, a lot of people will trust you at that point, right? And just ask questions about them. Hey, where are you from? What do you do? What do you blah, blah, blah. Just simple, basic conversation stuff, right? So it's not rocket science, but you have to build rapport with them. So once you do that, I always ask these 6 basic things for when I'm qualifying a distressed seller, right? I'm seeing whether they're actually distressed, or if they're motivated, or if they're not motivated, right? So the first thing I'll ask is, how long have you owned the property? The reason why I ask how long have you owned the property is because it verifies ownership. A lot of times, has anybody gotten this where it's like, how long have you owned the property? It's like, well, it's my aunt's property and I'm selling it for her. It's like, okay, can I get her number? It's like, no. All right, well, you're not really selling it for her and there's nothing I can do to help, right? So how long have you owned the property? You want to get the sense for how long they've owned it, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 1 year, whatever. Can you tell me a little bit about the property, like how many bedrooms and bathrooms it has? That's a pretty simple, factual question. Usually when you ask that question, most people are not going to say 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. They're going to go into, if they're distressed, they're going to go into a big, long explanation about when you come in, you got a living room, and then you got a dining room, and then you got a basement, and like they'll give you more details than you actually care to want to know, but that's fine. Because you want to get a visual in your head as to what the property looks like. So the next question is, have you done any remodeling work to the property in the last 3 years, like kitchen or bathroom? The reason why I say 3 years is because anything longer than that is not necessarily old, but like some people will say, yeah, I redid the kitchen. Okay, well, when did you redo it? I did it in 2005. It's like, dude, that was 18 years ago. You don't have a new kitchen, right? Or like the best is like, yeah, how old is the hot water heater? It's new. When was it done? 2005. It's like, it's not a new hot, it was new when you moved into the place. I get that, but it's not new anymore, right? It needs to be replaced. So with this, you can ask all kinds of layering questions about the condition of the property. You can ask like, how old is the roof? How old are, when was the last time the windows were replaced? When was the heater, HVAC upgraded? If they said they did kitchen work to the kitchen or bathroom, I would get more specific. I would ask like, do you have like granite countertops, or are they Corinthian? Do you have marble floors, or are they, laminate, or the dollar stick-it tiles or something like that? So you can, by the time you get done to here, you should have a visual in your head. You should know, okay, this is a brick row house in Collingdale, and it's just like a standard row house with a basement, and there's a garage attached to it in the back, right? One of those type of things. Or it's a 2-bedroom Cape Cod in Drexel Hill, and there's a driveway and there's a single detached garage in the back, something like that. You should have a visual in your head. The next thing I'll ask is there any debt on the property, right? So you always want to know and verify this. This will let you know if there's actually any equity in the property. So is there any debt, right? So I will ask, is there any debt on the property, right? Is there a mortgage? How much do you owe on the mortgage? Are you current on the payments? If you're not current on the payments, how many months behind are you? Is there any other debt? Are you behind on the property taxes? Do you have in Philadelphia, there's a water bill, right? Water is lienable in Philadelphia. Gas is also lienable in Philadelphia. So I want to know these things. So it's like, okay, you have a $45,000 mortgage, you have a $10,000 water bill, a $10,000 gas bill. So you owe $65,000 on the property. Then I'll ask, how much do you want for it? Well, I'll ask, and it doesn't, you can ask really these in any order, but like, I will ask, why do you want to sell it? And how much do you want? How much do you want for it? So I'll know if they owe $65,000 and they ask for $85,000, then they're looking to walk away with $20,000. So you want to know how much they kind of want to walk away with at the end of the day. The other thing, and this is the most important question in my opinion, is why do you want to sell it, right? And you have to ask this typically several times in several different ways in order to get that actual real answer. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, you say, okay, well, why do you want to sell the property? Well, it's just too much for me. I can't handle it right now. What does that mean? Right? Like that's a really vague answer. So the thing that I've learned and the best response to that is using the Socratic method. So the Socratic method is when you say blank, what do you mean by that? So when you say you can't handle it anymore, what do you mean by that? Huh? Okay, so this is the Socratic method. This is what I've learned about. Why do you want to sell it, Mr. Seller? Okay, well, they might say something vague like, it's just too much for me. I can't handle it anymore, right? So that's kind of like a vague answer. What does that even mean? So you want to get to the bottom of their real desire to sell the property. So you say, okay, well, when you say, I can't handle it anymore, it's just too much for me, what do you mean by that? And then they'll say, well, it's blah, 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 blah. They might say, well, I'm getting up there in years and it's just time for me to go. When you say you're getting up there in years and it's time for you to go, what do you mean by that? Because even that is still kind of like vague. Like you don't want to assume like the guy's 80 years old, or I mean, they might be 65 years old and in really bad health. They might say something like, okay, well, what I mean by that is I have arthritis in my knees. I can't walk up the stairs anymore. There's a leak in the back, which is causing mold. I don't have any money to pay for that. That's the real reason why you want to get to it. They want to sell the property. I'm behind on the property taxes. And if I don't sell this property by the end of next month, I'm going to lose it and be homeless, right? That's what you want to get to. You want to get to that motivation level. Because then you can help them and adjust your offer accordingly, right? So also, how much do you want for the property, right? Sometimes people will say, oh, I want you to come out and give me an offer. So you want to be able to ask several ways of how much do you want for the property. You can say, okay, well, a lot of times people have a number in their mind as to what they want. And, do you have that number? Yes. Okay. Well, what is it? It's just a lot easier if you just tell me what is that number, well, I want you to come out and, okay, no problem. So then you kind of circle back around into the condition of the property, and you can ask things like, well, what do properties sell for in your area? Right. The one across the street sold for $250. Okay. Well, what kind of condition would you say it was in compared to yours? Well, it was all fixed up. All right. Gotcha. So yours obviously needs to be fixed up. How much would you say, if we went through everything, kitchen, bathroom, HVAC, blah, 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 usually that costs me like $80,000. Does that sound about right? Yeah. Okay. So you can kind of ask these questions till you get an answer for it.
These are really similar questions we ask.
Yeah.
Setting up a listing appointment too.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You're pre-qualifying the lead,
Mhm.
So you ask, what do you want for your house, or how much do you want to sell it for? And the seller says $1 million, and it's in a $300,000 neighborhood. You don't want to sell your house, right?
Right.
And
Right.
like, if you can't get $1 million, are you going to move? No. All right. Well, then you don't need to be talking to me.
Right, right.
Just stay there for a while.
Right.
Give it 50 more years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wait for inflation. Yeah.
And then like the question about the updates, it tells us, well, how recently was that house updated? Because like you said, no one said their kitchen's new when they did it 20 years ago.
Mhm.
But doesn't mean a new buyer's gonna think it's new.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're
Styles change.
pre-qualifying
Yeah.
the leads what it's actually worth.
Yeah. So then at this point, I'll set up an appointment, right? So, setting up an appointment is real easy. It's like, okay, great. I'm interested in the property. I'd like to come out and make you an offer. When is a good time to see the property? I'll be in the area tomorrow. Would 10 o'clock work or 2 o'clock work or whatever? So you kind of give them a range to narrow it down, right? So it's like, instead of saying like, can I see the property? That's a yes, no question. Whereas when is a good time to see the property is they have to give you an answer when is an actual good time to see the property, right? So you can say, can I see the property, right? And that might work, but it's just, to me, it's better if you don't let them say, no, I don't really want anybody to see the property, or I got to do this. I got to fix this stuff up. It's like, when is a good time to see the property, right? I'm here this time, and can I see it tomorrow? I went to an appointment on Monday night. I had been following up with this person for weeks, right? And every time I would call her, something came up. And like, she had some like pretty bad stuff like happen, like family things happened, and like life happened, and but then I talked to her on Monday, and I said, hey, when is a good time to see the property? She goes, maybe I can get out there Wednesday. I said, do you have any time today? She's like, hold on, let me check. Yeah. And yeah, we went out there. I went out there that day, and I got it under contract. So this, with regards to appointments, the sooner the better. You don't want to be waiting more than 24, 48 hours to go out to look at a property. If you book a property, today's Wednesday, right? If you talk to somebody today, you should see that property by Saturday at the latest, right? And the only reason why you should see it Saturday is because they're working Thursday and Friday all day. If not, get out there in the evening, get out there in the morning, go see it.
Now, you say you got the property under contract. Is that for a wholesale deal, or is that for your buy and hold portfolio?
I can wholesale it, I can buy and hold it, I can flip it. Yeah, I can do all three. And I could probably do other stuff to it too.
The contract dictates that. So
The contract, yes, I have an assignable contract, yeah. This one I intend on flipping. But I can do all three, right? So that's, you want to have multiple exit strategies for property. Before I go out to the property, I always run comps on the property, right? So I always run comps and I create an offer range, meaning I'm going to offer between, a certain amount. So 80,000 to $100,000, right? Or 80 to $90,000. It's not going to be a big range like 50 to $150,000. You want to narrow that down to what you think is going to work for whatever your buy box is. So your buy box is whatever you are willing to buy or wholesale, or other people are willing to buy, and actually will close on that. So when I run comps, it's probably similar to whatever realtors do, but I will look at square footage, and I'm looking at something typically that is within 200 square feet of the property. Now, that's not always the case, but most of the properties that I deal with are like between 1,000 and 1,500 square feet, right? So if I find something that's 1,100 square feet, and I see something that's like 1,900 square feet or 2,000 square feet, that's not really a comp in that area. So I always look at that. I always look at the school district. That obviously matters, right? Good, bad, indifferent, whatever. As long as the same school district and people are buying in that area, that's what matters. The neighborhood. So different areas have different neighborhoods, right? If you live in Clifton Heights, there's a neighborhood called Westbrook Park. Some people like to live in Westbrook Park. There's one called Pembroke Pines. Some people live there. One might prefer the area over the other. So I look at what houses have sold in Westbrook Park, and that should give me the closer comp than compared to venturing out to across Pembroke Pines or whatever area. I also got to look at the house style. So twin, row, single, Cape Cod, whatever the house style is, right? So a twin house should, if I'm looking at a twin house, I should compare it to other twins in the area. If there's not other twins, then I'm looking at other rows, right? So something that's similar or most similar. I always look at the nearest retail closed, meaning somebody bought it with an FHA or conventional mortgage. So that's typically going to be an owner occupant. They're going to pay the most for that area. So that's the one that I know that I can get. If the ARV means after repair value. So if the after repair value is 250, and I see that 3 houses in that area sold for 245, 255, and 251. Like now I know the average is around 250. But you got to look at also at the details of that, right? So you got to say, okay, well, one was FHA, one was conventional, one was whatever. So but there might be a $10,000 seller assist. I don't know if that's allowed, but so you're looking at, okay, that $10,000 that they basically gave that seller. I'm sorry, that they gave the buyer once they settled. So that's coming out of your pocket, right? So if all 3 houses had a $10,000 seller assist on that, you need to know that, all right, maybe the ARV is around 250, but it's really net 240 at the end of the day. Then I look at nearest cash comps closed. Okay, this is the one that you can, now there might not be as many nowadays, right? But you still want to look at that. Okay, so cash comp is somebody they buy the property cash, hard money, private money, any type of financing like that, where they don't go out and they get a mortgage on the property. That will actually show you what you could sell the house for cash, right? So if I have a property, if there's cash comps for $80,000 in the area, and I get the property under contract for 50, I could probably flip it to a wholesaler for 30 grand, right? Boom, that's a great deal. I don't have to necessarily buy that property. The other thing you want to look at are street size, like busy street versus a quiet street. So especially in Philadelphia, but even like, do you want to live on McDade Boulevard versus do you want to live in a cul-de-sac, versus do you want to live on, just like a regular road that's not a cul-de-sac where there's across, back and forth street. Do you want to live on a one-way street? Is the street wide? Does it have a sidewalk? Is there no sidewalk? Is there a sidewalk on both sides? These are things that affect the value and perceived value in the area. The other thing to consider, you might not know this when you go out to the property, but is there a weird layout in the property? I went to a property the other day. It had The bathroom was in the back of the house, on the first floor. And upstairs, there were three bedrooms, but you had to walk through a bedroom to get to another bedroom, right? So that's not as desirable as if there's a bathroom upstairs and there's three separate bedrooms that you can get to, right? So that's kind of a weird layout. Those I've wholesaled a ton of houses like that, right? So what will somebody do? They'll typically go in there and they'll blow it out. They'll either make it 2 bedrooms or redo all this other stuff. And you have to have flipping experience and contractor experience to do something like that.
And where are you getting your information? Use the MLS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have access to the MLS,
Not
right?
many wholesalers that use, all this criteria for comps, so, yeah.
So I've done it so many times. Yeah, I've done it so many times that that I mean I can look and I can just kind of like, I pull up the public record, I look at the square footage of the house, the style of the house, the address, and I just copy and paste the address and I look for recent sales in a certain zip code, or not zip code, literally in a certain block radius. And it's going to depend on like the area, how far out I go, whether it's 0.1 mile, whether it's 0.25 mile, something like that. The more densely populated, the more row houses you have, then you don't have to go that far out because you should have comps within a couple of blocks. If you're in an area like Aston, where it's a little more rural, or Chester County or anything like that, then you're probably gonna have to go out half a mile or in certain places.
You prop stream?
Mhm.
I mean, is that your sole, is that your go-to,
To run comps?
the one comp?
No, I run comps based on I use the MLS
Mhm.
to run comps.
The MLS is primarily for realtors, like
Yeah.
if you have a real estate license. I do believe they sell.
But you could be an assistant.
Yeah, you can get like a citizen's license.
Yeah.
But mostly you need to be a realtor to have it, but PropStream is basically the consumer version of the MLS.
Yeah.
Not exactly, but it's
Quick for something.
And the other thing is if there's other things, like literally train tracks, right? There's always, when there's train tracks, there's one side that's the higher prices and one side that's the lower prices. Graveyards, if there's a busy road, McDade Boulevard, Baltimore Pike, Chester Pike, any of these, like, Garrett, like there's one side of the street that's typically higher, one side of the street is typically lower. It doesn't mean one's work like bad, or you just need to know that. You need to know if this house sold, I think it's like Garrett Boulevard, where Upper Darby divides Clifton Heights and Springfield. You need to know that one side is Clifton Heights, where the houses can sell for, or let's say around $200,000. The other side and then they're row houses, right? The other side is Springfield Township, different school zone, different school district, single family houses, literally the same size house, right? It's the same size as a row. They're like 1,200 square feet, turned to the side, but there's a yard. Sometimes there's a driveway, and they'll sell for $400,000 or three something, right? I don't know off the top of my head, but they're completely different. But that road separates everything. All right, so at the appointment, just basic stuff. Be on time, build rapport with the person, act like you know what you're doing, walk the property, ask questions. I always take lots of pictures. I take a picture of every single room that I'm in. I'll take sometimes multiple pictures from multiple angles. Sometimes people will take like hundreds of pictures, right? I don't need to take 100 pictures, but I'll take a couple dozen pictures. I always take pictures of the basement. You want to take pictures of the heater, the hot water heater, the layout for everything, the front and back, the side of the house, the electrical panel, stuff like that. So like, hey, if there's fuses in this electrical panel, probably the electrical is going to need to be updated here. Always make an offer when you're there. Always, one thing I forgot to mention is always try and have the decision makers there, like all decision makers, right? So if you're married, whether you say you can make the decision without your spouse or not, you're always almost going to consult with your spouse, right? Whether you're husband or wife. Whether you have the toughest alpha male out there or not, it's the guy's always going to say, well, I got to talk to my wife about this, right? So don't ever believe their BS. Like, I can make the decision without her. Say, hey, when's a good time for you and your wife to be there at that same time? probate situation, it could be other heirs to the property. Now, that doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes they're out of state, they're working. It's difficult to get everybody there, but typically you always want to try and have all decision makers there. So you make an offer, and if they accept the offer, close the deal. So make multiple offers, right? Always make an offer, and make it until they say yes. If they don't say yes, that's okay. Don't you don't have to pressure them. But one thing you should always have are keep extra contracts in your car, right? So a lot of times people do stuff by DocuSign or, whatever via the internet. I always have contracts in my car. Like if somebody had a deal here tonight, we can put it under contract right now, right? And we don't even have to go on the computer or anything. I have a contract, and I know the terms of my contract. I have a script that I use for my contract when I'm explaining it to the seller. It's only a 4-page contract, but I still say almost the same thing every single time. When I'm explaining the contract, I'm explaining the relevant points of the contract. This is you. Did I spell your name right? Great. Okay, this is me. This is my LLC, right? And then this is the title company that we're going to use. This is the amount that we agreed to, $90,000. We're going to close on this date. I'm going to take care of all the transfer taxes and closing costs for the property. I don't go over every single detail in the contract, but you want to be able to relay it back to them and then have them basically feel confident that they know what they're getting into. And then so review everything with the seller. And then I have a app on my phone, which will just take a PDF scan of everything, and they get to keep the hard copy. So I say, I'm going to take a picture of this. I'm going to scan everything over, send it to the title company. The title company will be contacting you in a couple of days, and you get to keep the hard copy. And it's going to have my contact information on there. If you need a contract or a script for how to book an appointment, this is a website that I have. It's called wsk.phonesites.com. Wholesaler Starter Kit.phonesites.com. Wholesaler Starter Kit, wsk.phonesites.com. It's got it's all free contract, a script. It's got like a couple other things on there too. So
that's your
it's me. It's my site. Yeah. I get your email address. Yeah.
That's cool.
So
That's how you build your sell list.
yeah. And you can be on my buyers list and reach out, and that's it.
Awesome.
Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm doing mailers right now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing some mailers right now.
Yeah.
So currently, I don't believe you're not doing mailers, right?
No, I have not done, but I've done them in the past. Yeah, but I haven't done them in a couple of years.
So like, my theory behind this, one is I don't have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Two is I only want to talk to the people that are most interested.
Mhm.
Hence why I went with mailers.
Okay.
I called before and it's cool, but the success rate's pretty low.
Yeah.
Same with texting. Yeah. But barrier entry is higher, right? So I'm putting out,
Yeah.
more money to mail.
Okay.
Not seeing significant. I've only done 2 batches so far.
Okay.
Since starting back up.
Yeah.
And not seeing a whole lot.
Yeah. So how many mailers?
How many times do you think
You sent out?
the first time?
Yeah.
The first batch was, let's say 1,000.
Okay.
And second batch, I added something to my buy box, so it was like 1,600.
Okay. So you're not going to get anything. You might get one deal a year from doing that. You have to do 10,000 a month in mailers.
So to do that, really, right now I'm pretty tight with my guidelines.
Yeah.
Like,
How much is that costing you? Like less than 1,000 a month,
Yeah,
right?
$1,500 something like that.
Yeah. So so
I'm
to
using
do
open letter marketing.
to do mailers, you're probably going to have to do like 10,000 a month minimum.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Either that or do it the slow route and you'll get one deal a year.
And I'm
Yeah.
only doing it for my own deals,
So you sent out 1,000,
just for me.
or you sent out, so how many responses have you gotten back?
The first one was like 9. And
Okay.
the second one, 4 total.
Okay.
2 FUs and 2 somewhat real.
So 9. So I mean, did you get any appointments out of it? Like, did anybody actually
Yeah.
legitimately interested in selling?
4.
right, well, that-
Still.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing is you have to develop a follow-up system.
Yeah.
I've followed up sometimes with sellers for up to 2 years
Yeah.
before I was able to close the deal. So you don't have to do 10,000. You have to do 10,000 if you want to do a significant amount of business.
Mhm.
But if you're just getting, a couple deals a year out of it, And but you have a good,
I'll be happy with one.
yeah, so if you do,
I'll be happy.
so if you do, I mean, so let's just say you spend 1,500 a month, so that's $18,000 a year, right? Let's say $20,000 a year doing that. One deal will pay for that, probably, right? If you, whether you flip it or wholesale, you
Yeah.
should be able to get,
I mean,
one deal. Now,
that's
you don't
the
wanna-
wholesale fee.
yeah, you don't want to break even. So if you had, so where you will make the money is in the follow-up with the people, the nurturing sequence. And if you only have 4 or whatever, you don't have to have some elaborate CRM, customer relationship manager. You don't have to have like Salesforce or Podio or anything like that. But you can just put them on an Excel spreadsheet, call them once a week, right? And then every time somebody comes in new, keep doing the follow-up with them.
So, all right, let
Yeah.
me give you another scenario. So I'm talking to a guy who I met in
Yeah.
person. I met him at work.
Yeah.
Right, so I work at Best Buy. Comes into Best Buy, I start talking about appliances.
Yeah.
And I find out he has rental properties.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm like, yep, me too.
Right.
Let's talk. He's
Right.
like, Norristown. I'm like, that's my buy box.
Right,
That's where I buy. I actually help run a program called Jumpstart Norristown. And had a great conversation with him and his wife. His wife really wants him to sell.
Okay.
He's been a landlord for 20-something years,
Great.
25 years, something like that. Exactly who I'm trying to reach out to.
Yeah.
So obviously didn't keep up the property, very similar, collects rent 100%
Mhm.
rented, has like 23 properties, something like that. Me and my partner checked out the properties, checked out 4 or 5 of them. Real tough dude
Mhm.
that wants too much,
Yeah. Right.
not
Right.
negotiating.
Right.
You think just follow up?
Yeah. Yeah. I would think, I think follow up, and I think you need to tell the guy, hey, look, when you sell these properties, let's say you said 23 properties, right? And let's say you sold each property for $100,000. So that's 2.3 million. Did I do my math right?
Yeah.
Okay.
he wants way
Great.
more than that.
Okay. But let's say it's okay. How much does he want?
I mean, we were just talking single properties, most of them are duplexes. So for a duplex in Norristown, he wants like 250-ish, which is ARV.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. ARV, and it's not
Yeah.
It's not
That's
repaired.
high-end ARV.
Yeah. Yeah. So you gotta let the guy know, be like, look, you can list these with a realtor. Are you a realtor?
No.
Okay, so you'd be like, look, that's great, man. Hey, I'll put you in contact with my realtor. He could, we'll can list these properties for you. I kind of ran it by him. He said that like that's probably like on the high end. You're looking at paying like realtor commissions and fees and things like that at the end of the day. And unless they're like, he also said that like, unless they're like really like renovated top to bottom,
Yeah,
you're probably not going to sell them. But like you can try that and you can put them on the market. And at 6, yeah, and at like it, at 6, it's after 6 months, you could yell at him and point the finger, but it's going to be your fault at the end of the day. Like no offense, but it's kind of on you. So rather than doing something like that, let's say I gave you 250 for the duplex, right? So let's say I bought, and let's say I didn't, here's what I'll do. I'll give you 250 per property for all the properties, right? Now you're going to get $5 million, right? Guess what? You're going to get hit with a capital gains tax on that. And you're going to have to pay like $1 million or more to the government. Do you want to do that? No, I don't want to do that. All right. Well, here's what you should do. I'll give you what's called an installment agreement, right? So now you don't have to take care of the tenants, the trash, the taxes, and the termites, or whatever the 4 T's are. So I will pay you $1,000 a month per property, and just make it like 0% interest. Say I'll give you $1,000 a month per property, and I'll take care of everything, right? And you don't have to worry about the upkeep, the taxes. I'll take care of everything. And then after 250 months, the property will be paid off. So you negotiate like seller financing like that. That's just like a start. He might say, well, you got to give me a down payment, or you got to give me an interest, or just, but like, okay, fine. How much do you want?
Shut it down so far.
Huh?
He's been shut down so far.
Has he? Okay. Well, but the thing is, he has to understand is that he's going to have to pay a boatload. Yeah. So, okay. So he's got time and he's got money, right? But how old is the guy?
50s.
Okay, so, I mean, something, at some point, something's gonna happen, right? Fifties is not that old, but like, but like, he could get some kind of major health problem, right? In the next year, right? And I'm not saying he does or does, but like, that happens to people, and then it's like, now their whole situation changes. And until something like that happens, he doesn't really give a shit. He doesn't have to. He has time and he's got money. But if he has a major health problem, he doesn't have time, right? And he's going to lose all his money. So it would be better if you said, hey, look, man, instead of you dealing with all of this stuff for the next, you're 50, you're in your 50s now or whatever, you probably gonna live another like 30, 40, 50 years, right? Wouldn't it be cool if you had an income but you didn't have to worry about dealing with property management for the next 30 years, right? And if you can sell him on that, you just haven't had enough
And he
practice.
wants to move.
Oh, well, then he's never going to manage the properties, right? So, hey, look,
And he like he goes there, and collects.
yeah. He's gonna, yeah. So how you ask him? So when is he going to move to Florida?
Or if you sell your property.
So you got to work on the wife.
Yeah.
So you got to, yeah. So that's one of
She's
the,
one all about it.
that's one of those things where, hey, look, you can move to Florida tomorrow if we structure the deal this way, and you're going to get long term, and you don't have to pay any of this. You don't have to manage any of this. You don't have to go out and collect any more money. I'll take care of everything. You're just going to get you're going to get a check in the mailbox every single month, and you're going to live it up for the rest of your life in Florida.
Back at it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Anything else?
And before we any questions,
Okay.
I think that was really informative.
Okay, good. Thanks.
And that's great. Every other,
got to hit all the check all boxes.
yeah, and we're saving this video and I'm gonna share it on every platform and everything, but each meeting is gonna be a different topic. We'll have guests that have very involved in that specific topic. Having someone like this to present, is in the trenches doing deal finding, is really helpful because you get to see, I get these questions all the time. People are, how do you get into wholesaling? And I've never personally done wholesaling. I'm a real estate agent. I think they're two very different things.
Right,
So,
right.
I tell them, hey, like, read a book, or I'm sure there's plenty of information online. Here's the basic idea.
Right.
But having someone like that to talk to about this stuff is huge. So I appreciate you doing this for sure.
Thanks for having me.
What's your buy box? What are you looking for?
I like stuff in DELCO that is like, if I can be all in for 100 and rent it for 1,500 and it's worth 150 to 200, then I'll do that, which probably anybody would do. But those are the kind of, so like, I'll give you an example. Had a deal in, these are like the majority of the deals that I've been working on for the last year. I had one in Linwood. I bought it for 70. I put in like 35. It appraised for 195. I was able to pull out 35 cash, make $35,000 and hold it as a rental, right?
that one price point is getting harder and harder in Delaware.
Yeah, it is, but
They're still out there.
yeah, but like but I'm buying stuff off market, right? So like I have like I said, I have a marketing machine, but even just like social media, like my realtor brought me a deal. I bought it for 70. I'm in it for like less than 100. It's on the market for 179. Now I might not sell it for 179, but if I sold it for 160 or even 150, I'm still going to make like 40 grand on the deal, right? Or I can refinance it. And if I refinance it, I'm still going to pull out 20 grand and hold the property, right? And
Better.
Yeah.
Huge question, where are you getting your initial financing?
private money,
Private money?
yeah. No,
Or
Context everything you yourself.
actual business, actual company.
no, not companies. No. Regular people like yourself.
Right,
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, on what you explained, something like that.